1930, Bonnie Parker, an unemployed waitress, meets Clyde Barrow in West Dallas. She's 19. Clyde's a year older and on the run from burglary charges.
They are these mythical characters who did nothing but cause trouble and pain in their lifetime. It's a young boy and a young girl who went against the system. And by all accounts, it was love at first sight. The only thing that separated them was police arrested him and hauled him off to jail.
Bonnie sneaks a revolver into the jail and Clyde makes a run for it. But he's recaptured, jailed, and beaten by the guards. He's released in 1932, a hardened criminal. He and Bonnie go on a rampage, robbing banks and killing a dozen people.
Is there 2 prisons down there? Or
yeah, there's 3 units.
Okay.
3 units painted, but the main prison is, downtown Huntsville.
Okay.
And
And that's the one that they call Huntsville?
That's the one they call Huntsville, yeah.
Okay.
Where Clyde and them were with Eastham.
Okay.
And which is it's a working farm. It's still a working farm. And the old prison's still there. And we went not long ago, and the warden gave us a tour of Eastham.
Mm-hmm.
Perry and them went, and so that's where all their problems started right there, because they had I don't know if you ever watched that Shawshank Redemption,
Mm-hmm.
where this guy knows something about one of the prisoners,
Mm-hmm.
and the warden don't want him to know because he wants to keep him
Right.
in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw what they did to the guy,
Mm-hmm.
to shut him up.
Yeah.
Well, those guards, my dad told me, he says, when those guards walk up and tell you you're going to escape tonight,
Mm-hmm.
you dog your last breath.
Yeah.
And they did that.
Yeah. Well, that's why Clyde cut his toes off.
Right. Yeah, well, they did the same thing, because they were beating Ralph Forbes on conscience. And one of the guards looked at Clyde, because he was standing there, with his clenched fist, according to Ralph Forbes. He says, and one of the guards says, "You want some of this, boy?" Well, that's where Ralph Forbes, he said, this is where he saw Clyde change from a schoolboy to a rattlesnake.
Mm-hmm.
Because of all the treatment they did those boys.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the reason why a lot of them mutilated themselves to keep them.
Right. Just
Of course, they played havoc. He does, and 2 weeks later, he's walking out of prison on parole.
on parole, yeah. Draw the luck, right? There's that barrel of luck again, right? Just in case people don't understand what we're talking about the situation with the guards, they would get a reward above their paycheck for any prisoners that escaped that they brought in dead or alive. And 9 times out of 10, they were brought back dead. Mm-hmm. And the guards would get a one-time bump in pay for that, for like, what was it, $35, something like that? $25, $35. And you gotta remember, back then, you had people that were just as bad, if not worse, than the people that were serving time guarding them. So it was kind of like the fox guarding the hen house. So they would make their money, their extra money, by picking out a inmate and telling him he was going to be escaping the next day. And basically they'd take them out in the fields when they were working, say they escaped, shoot them, and bring the body back and collect a reward for it.
Yeah, they had what they call high riders on those horseback. They were the ones that was carrying weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And if you gave any problem, you were killed attempting to escape.
Mm-hmm. And so that's what Clyde was trying to avoid by cutting his toes off. Was he had been told that he was going to be escaping the next day, and he was like, I don't want to go out to the field, so the best way to handle that is to cut the toes off. And like you said, it wasn't long after that they paroled him and sent him home, and so he probably wasn't even healed up yet from cutting his toes
he was still
off.
on crutches when he came back home. Yeah. As a matter of fact, that was the only time he actually stayed at the filling station, because right after that, when he got better, he looked Bonnie back up, and he moved in with his sister, Aunt Nell. And she got him several jobs, you know, to establish himself back to normal life. And here comes the police, you know,
Because they know he's
down.
out.
And he may not have been involved in it, but they knew exactly where he was, and they would pick him up, question him, see if he knew anything about these little incidents. And finally, his employers told him, we said, we can't allow this here, we're gonna have to let you go. And as far as I understand, that every employee that Clyde worked for, after he returned from prison, said he was a hard worker, he was a dedicated employee, you know, and just, things just didn't, you know, you had the law completely harassed him. He said they would actually pick him up from jail, from his work, take him downtown Dallas, take him down to questioning. They wouldn't take him home. And he had to walk from the city jail or city courthouse and walk back to where he lived. And he said that he'd get halfway home, 2 other detectives would pick him up and take him right back down there. This is the same day. Knowing that these, you know, I just got through answering these guys. He said, well, you're going to answer our question. So finally he said, enough's enough. He told his mom, he says, I'll see him, you know, in another place.
Yeah.
And that's when he struck out.
So,
And see, that's the reason why Bonnie writes in her poem. She said, I knew Clyde when he was upright and straight. These laws kept pulling around, taking him down. That's what she's telling you.
yeah.
Because she witnessed it. That poem that she wrote tells you everything that went on in their lives, you know, from the time to the very end.